In the last lecture, we added the navigation items for the toolbar only right now. So it's time to also add the navigation for mobile devices. For these, the menu button here should show a side drawer, so some side menu which slides in. For that, I'll add a new component in the navigation folder, the side drawer component in a side drawer folder. Now, the side drawer here will consist of two components, you could say. The side drawer itself and then the toggle button, which right now is simply handled here with a placeholder. The menu button here, that should be a button which opens the side drawer in the end, and that can therefore go into its own component, since we theoretically might want to reuse such a toggle button. Also, we will need a backdrop for the side drawer, but thankfully we already got one, so we'll reuse this component. Let's work on the side drawer first, and let's always show it, then let's add the toggle button and so on. So let's get there step by step. The side drawer component is a normal functional component where we get some props and return something. That something will not be the JSX code immediately, but a real function body will use here, because before I return JSX in there, I want to do something here. I basically want to conditionally attach different CSS classes to make sure we play some animation when the drawer is shown. So add an open class, which kind of slides it in, and a close class, which kind of slides it out. You'll see how to implement this in a second. Of course, let's also import React so that our JSX code can get compiled. And let's then export the side drawer function as the file default. Now, before we add any conditional classes, let's set up the side drawer. And here I will simply use a div like this. And in that div here, I want to have my logo and my navigation items. So I'll import both. I'll import logo from the logo folder, and there the logo.js file. And I'll import navigation items from the navigation items folder, and there the navigation items.js file. So here you can already see how we're reusing components. And then I'll add logo as a self-closing component here and wrap navigation items into a nav element. And yes, you could also therefore outsource nav into navigation items. Just make sure to also adjust the styling there then, because right now I'm styling nav in toolbar. You would have to move that into navigation items, but that would absolutely be possible. So here I'll include navigation items as a self-closing element for now in the side drawer. And now, of course, the side drawer needs some styling too. So for that, I'll create a new CSS file next to the side drawer JS file, the side drawer CSS file. In there, I'll add a side drawer class. And the side drawer will only be visible on small device screens. I will take care that you can only open it there. So let's set the position to fixed then, because it should always be on the page. Even if we scroll, it should feel like a static element. I want to set the width to, let's say, 200 pixels or maybe 280 pixels. And the max width should be 70%, so that even on super narrow devices, it doesn't go over the edges. The height has to be 100% to take the full screen height. And the left position should be 0 and the top position should be 0, so that it really sits on the full screen. I'll then give it a set index of 200, deliberately having a higher number than the backdrop, of course, where we used 100, because the side drawer should be above the backdrop, otherwise it would be hard to use it. I'll then want to give it a background color of white, so that it stands out and that we can clearly see all the content of the side drawer. And I'll assign some padding, let's say 32 pixels from top to bottom and 16 pixels left to right. And you can, of course, also use percentual values here if you prefer to do that. I'll give it some box sizing to adjust the size to the padding. And now important, I'll add a transition property to react to changes of the transform property and animate them over 300 milliseconds with a ease out timing function. This will be important for opening and closing the side drawer. Next, I'll add a media query here to determine what should happen on bigger devices. If our device width exceeds 500 pixels, then the side drawer CSS class should actually have a display of none, so it's just not visible. So we can never see the side drawer on bigger devices. Now for testing, we will have to switch into mobile device mode in the browser therefore. I'll also add two new CSS classes, open and close. And these will be attached conditionally, and they are responsible for playing an animation. For open, I'll set the transform property to translate x0. This will basically shift the side drawer into the position I defined up here. And for close, I'll set transform to translate x minus 100%. This will shift it to the left. And since we constantly switch between these classes, transform will be adjusted and hence it will play it with a transition. This is the side drawer class. Let's now go into the side drawer and let's import the classes there. So let's import classes from the side drawer CSS file and let's add this to the div. Class name here should be classes side drawer with a capital S. So now this side drawer component is configured and should look good. Now, of course, we want to use it. And that brings up one important question. Where should this side drawer component be used at? In the app.js file? In the toolbar file? Neither of the two, of course. We got our layout. And in the layout, we have the toolbar. It's here where we also should have the side drawer because it's part of our core layout, in my opinion. So I'll import the side drawer here from, and now I need to go into the navigation folder, to the side drawer folder, and to the side drawer JS file. And now simply import or add this here. Add the side drawer here in this layout component. With that, if we go back to the application and we click on this mobile device preview icon here in the Chrome DevTools, alternatively you can just shrink your screen size, from a certain point on you should see the side drawer. And it should look horrible because the logo is way too big and the navigation items of course look bad. That makes sense because we have adjusted neither of the two to look good on mobile devices. So let's take care about this next before we then add the backdrop and a working toggle button.